Hey guys, I know we've entered the depths of exam season and studying can seem really daunting. So today I thought we would go through how to maximize your study time by targeting your weakest areas first. And we'll also talk about how to structure your study sessions, how to stay motivated, and if you stick around towards the end of the video, I'm going to show you my free downloadable study planner, which will help you make the most of your maths revision time. So let's get started. So what would I do if I was in your position and I had just a few weeks to study? Well, what I'll do is try and target my weakest points first. So where do I even start? How do I know what I don't know, right? So what you're going to do is you're first going to do an exam paper. I would recommend starting from the latest available year, which is probably going to be 2021. Once you're done with that exam paper, you're going to mark it. And on the front of the paper, you're going to write down the topics that you didn't get full marks on. These topics are the ones that you're going to focus on first because you didn't get the full marks, which means they are the best topics to start with, so you can increase your grade by the greatest amount possible in the shortest amount of time. So how do you actually practice those topics? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to complete exam-style questions on those topics and look through mark schemes and YouTube videos in order to make sure you understand how to get the answer and all of the marks. I have videos going through every single topic in AQA and Edexcel maths. I'll link those in the description so that you can refer to them. After this, what you want to do is move on to the next exam paper and repeat the process again. You should notice that you're going to reduce the number of topics that you didn't get full marks on every single time you do this. This is exactly what I did when I left revising to the last minute. Obviously, ideally, we wouldn't have left it to the last minute, but here we are, no sense complaining about it. Just start doing this method. Okay, that's all well and good, but how on earth do I actually structure a study session and when should I study? What I'd say is not to study at night time or really early into the morning because I personally find that I'm not as motivated, I'm not as efficient, and my cognitive function just gets shot to hell. What you'll want to do is set aside 1.5 hours to complete the paper because that's how long you have to do the papers. If your exam paper is longer than that, then give yourself longer than that. And you want to give yourself 30 minutes to then mark the test. After this, I'd recommend that you give yourself a 30-minute break so your brain can rest and recharge and then either move on to the next subject or in the next maths paper. One thing to also note is that frequency is very, very important. Instead of doing 5 hours of maths on one day, it's much better to do an hour a day instead. That gives your brain time to kind of remember and learn from your mistakes from that day after you've slept on it and you've moved on to another topic or another subject. Because of all of these reasons kind of added together, I'd recommend that you study as soon as you get home from school. Don't really give yourself time to do anything because otherwise you're going to get a bit distracted, you're going to get a bit lazy. If you go on your phone, you're going to scroll on TikTok. Instead, just hit the book straight away, get the work done and take your breaks and your rest time in the evenings. The next thing I'd recommend you do is set yourself a task instead of necessarily a time limit. So some people say, I'm going to study for 2.5 hours. I much prefer to say, I'm going to do 2021 paper 1 today, get it marked, and then that's it, that's my studying done, which helps me stay motivated to actually complete the work and get it done as soon as humanly possible. So how on earth do I stay motivated and how do I stay disciplined? Well, you want to set yourself up for success. You want to remove as many barriers that are stopping you from revising. So what I'd recommend you do is when you wake up in the morning, put the revision materials on your desk so that way when you come home, they're all there straight in front of you. You just have to sit down and start writing. And that way you can just immediately get straight into the revision. There's no way you can kind of procrastinate or go on your phone or get some time. I would also recommend that you plan breaks. This is kind of like a reward system for your brain. If you say, I'm going to study for an hour and a half and then I'm going to take a break, your brain is much more likely to stay motivated because you know you're actually going to get a reward at the end of this studying. And lastly, knowing exactly what you're going to be doing when you start studying will help reduce the stress and anxiety for studying. So if you know, for example, the next week that on Monday I'm going to do 2021 paper 1, on Tuesday I'm going to do 2021 paper 2, you know exactly what you're doing and what you should be doing on any given day at any given time, which means you feel more confident in yourself. When you have a timetable and a schedule, you know what you're meant to be doing and you can just kind of get stuck in straight away. And now we're going to move on to the study planner. So I'm going to transfer over to Computer Mitch, who's going to take you through exactly how the study planner works. And here it is. This is the study tracker for AQA. And if you have a look at this, we have all of the foundation papers written on the left-hand side, broken down into paper 1, 2, and 3, all of the higher papers on the right-hand side, and there is a link to the question paper, a link to the mark scheme, a checkbox for when you've finished it, and then you can type in your score. So to work out your score, all you do is you take the number of marks that you've got, divide it by 80, times 100, and you can put it here. I've just put these as placeholders, and you even have some notes. So some notes that you might want are things like revisit question 8, cosine rule is a bit tricky, interesting vector question. So you can come back and you kind of have everything neat in a nice little package here. And again, I would recommend that you just kind of go through each of these papers. Now, for those of you doing your exams this year, so that's 2023, just as a little bit of a tip for you, I'd recommend sticking to the 2018 and 2017 papers, or at least starting with them, then you can do the rest of them. The reason for this is the exam boards have come out and said that they want to get back to pre-COVID days, and so the most recent papers for that will be 2018 and 17, but again, do as many of the papers as you can. After that, tick them off, get the score done, nice and easy, super, super clean. And then if you come to this other tab here, every single spec point on your spec, all written out. And if you look here, there are some links, right? The QP is the question paper and the MS is for mark scheme. And what this is a set of exam style questions for every single spec point along with their mark schemes. So all of these spec points all across here, look at that, all of them done. And you may notice that some of these are in bold. Well, the higher only topics are in bold, higher only spec points are in bold as well. So for example, use the product rule for counting, and then if some topics are higher tier only as well. So for example, transformation of graphs. So you can really easily and quickly see what is, in your situation. So if you're doing foundation, do everything that's not bold. If you're higher, do everything including what's bold. Then it also has a little covered thing so you can track your progress. For some reason, for me personally, whenever I tick something off of like a list, it makes me feel good, it makes me feel productive. So it's added in there for you too, so you can slowly but surely tick off everything you've done. And it's on the exam papers too. And if you look here, we have this red, yellow, and green. So remember what I said about doing the exam papers. All you're going to do is mark green topics, you're done, that's fine, and then tick them off as covered, easy. Yellow is, or orange, if you kind of miss a couple of marks in a question, and red is if you just get it all wrong completely. So you can see exactly what you need to target and when, and you can turn them slowly but surely all into green. So at this stage, I'm hoping that most of this is going to be green for you anyway, but if not, at least now you can target the stuff that you're really stuck on. I would recommend starting with any red topics first, because you have the most potential to gain as many marks as possible, okay? Instead of gaining a few, you'll gain 5, 6, 10 marks, or whatever it is. Now, just so you're aware, in the comments or even on the Discord is better actually, I want you to post any suggestions for changes to this document, okay? So post anything you can think of in the Discord so we can make this the best possible study planner for you and for future generations of Year 11s. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.